This is John Walton, and you're listening to the Power Play Point podcast with the Blue Liner on Points and Anna Knox. Here's Wilson, and on the right circle, he scores!
Rebound loose, wild scramble in front, score! Ovechkin with a buzzer beater! It'll count!
And a hat trick tonight, number 21,
Hello, welcome once again to the Power Play Point podcast. This is your host, the Blue Liner on Points, speaking to you live to tape from downtown Glen Burnie, Maryland, where if you're on the East Coast, the sun's going down thanks to it being daylight savings time and all that, even though it's only 5 o'clock, if you're into that kind of thing. And with me, as always, live to tape herself from Centerville, Virginia, the Commonwealth, is the one and only mermaid Anna Knox.
Hey, gal.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Daylight saving sucks.
Yeah.
This team sucks, and it's a Sunday.
Yeah. I guess.
But I do have a new festive cocktail I'm drinking.
Care to share, or at least
well, it's
tell me
vodka
what
tonic,
it is?
but it has cranberries in it.
Oh.
For the antioxidants.
Cranberries or cranberry juice?
Oh, no, cranberries. Real cranberries.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's it.
Cranberries are grown in a bog.
Yes. I have taken the Cape Cod bog train tour.
Say that 10 times fast.
Right. And yeah. Can't say it was memorable, but I could say that I've gone on it and been like, wow, this is really pretty, but don't need to go again. But yes, they grow in a bog, which is just a weird word.
So in case you can't tell, it was a dumpster fire of a week for our Washington Capitals, which is why we are completely putting on the stall as far as getting to the on-ice highlights, but I guess we really can't stall much longer because you out there on the other side of the earbuds, the speakers, what have you, well, you're not paying for this, and I'm sure, pardon me, I'm sure you're not paying to hear us drone on at all.
About cranberry bogs.
about cranberries, sour they may be, sour and tasty as they may be. But anyway, let's just go ahead and get into it. Rip the old Band-Aid off. Yeah, it was a not fun week. It was it was that too in all kinds of ways. The Caps played when we last left you. The Caps had finished up their homestand. They were just about to go on a road trip and had it's 4 games we have to cover, and we're going to blitz through 3 of them and focus on one as we always do. The one game we're going to focus on is the one where they actually look like they were putting up some sort of a fight and played like they wanted to win the game and damn near won the game had it not come down to a damn skills competition. So that was the St. Louis game on Thursday. The others, they were pretty much the same game. So let's go ahead and go through them real quick here. So the first one was Sunday, just before, or just after, rather, we were recording. And that was the other end of the back-to-back set against the Lightning, this time in Tampa Bay's Amalie Arena. And this game was a big, huge pile of no bueno. Mikhail Sergachev opened the scoring at 1-2-3 in the first, and just like the referee hitting the hand on the wrestling mat, 1-2-3, it was all over, because that's pretty much all. Well, Caps would stage something of an abortive comeback, and that's as polite as I'm gonna that's as polite as I'm gonna put it.
Yeah.
I think I'm being very nice by putting it that way, but. Yeah, this game had all kinds of fluky ass goals in it. Stuff going off of sticks, skates, back ends of players, you name it. And this was just no good. Before the game was even several minutes old, the Lightning had built up a 3-0 lead. And yeah, it was actually 4-0 by the end of the first period. And if if you're going to turn off, you're going to turn it off. You're going to turn it off then. But the gluttons.
Well, I don't understand how you play them 48 hours before, and it's like
and all the intensity you had just goes right. And it's down
like a completely different team. And and I'll apologize for being very unenthusiastic about recording this week. I am frustrated. I'm tired of talking about the same thing over and over and over again. I don't know what the solution is. But
you can be frustrated and be enthused about being the frustration. I mean,
yeah.
Anna, I swear, if there ever was a leak, oh boy, man, I COVID is really doing a number on me. A week where you had the green light to swear like a sailor, or like the sailors you tease all the time, since you're the mermaid. This would be it.
Yeah. Well, that's just well, I know we're going to go through the game. But I will say, we called this last week when we said a lot is going to be determined on how they were going to play Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, and kind of, set the week up. And holy mother of God, did they suck. And it just went, like, they just gave up. Like, they didn't come out in Tampa Bay. Like, they were, I don't even know where they were. Baggage claim. And they sucked, and they looked like So
no two ways about it. They shit the bed, and all they had to do, just like you said, all they had to do was, because you knew Tampa was going to come out because they were pissed.
Yeah.
And they were, they're not a team that takes defeat lightly. So what you should have expected, what they should have expected, was a team that was going to come out pissed and snorting fire and wanting to win at all costs and going to pour it on, because this is a team that, at its core still knows how to win hockey games and hockey championships. And, well, you saw what happened.
Right.
4-0 after 20 minutes.
Yeah. And incredibly disappointing. Like, we just didn't come out to play.
Yeah. And the good and the bad was so awful that the good in this game doesn't even deserve to be talked about. So we're just going to pass over that.
Yep.
And on to the next game, which was this past Tuesday, also in Florida, this time against the Panthers in Sunrise. Well, it was a big sunset. I think I think the Caps shot us the moon in this game. So Barkov. Oh God! So this game starts off with a really bad turnover in our own zone, and Alexander Barkov, if you give him the time and space, puts it away, which he did. And Caps are chasing the game again. Florida jumps out to a 2-0 lead after getting a power play. Caps show some sign of life when Strome rebounds, as Joe Snively. This is what kind of a week it was. Joe Snively gets an assist on this goal, which for a while brought the Caps back into the game. What's his reward? He hasn't played since.
Yeah, I was going to say healthy scratch.
healthy scratch
Bullshit.
for the next 2 games.
Yep.
You tell me what the hell's going on with this team. Guy sets up a goal, puts your team in a game, and doesn't get to play the next game and the game after that. Real nice. Real nice. I'm not gonna look. I am not the general manager of this team. I have never been the general manager of anything in my life, so I'm not going to tell anybody how to do their job. But in the words of Sheldon Cooper, please. So Florida goes up 3-1, and then John Carlson scores on a nice deflection, puts them back in the game, and then that guy that I'm really starting to hate for Florida, who ended our season last year, Carter Verhaeghe, had to score not once but twice to put the game away. And that was that. But the Caps were chasing the game the whole time, so it was yet another game where they just didn't show up for the first 20 minutes, and it cost them. And they died in the last 7 or 8 minutes, and so.
And 0 for 5 in the power play. Like at this point, it's just become a joke.
I was going to get to that for dramatic effect because I was building up the whole. But no, you're right. It was 0 for 6 against Tampa, 0 for 5 this game, and let's see, the St. Louis game. I don't think they scored there either, so that ran it up to. Oh yes, they did actually. Yes, they did. But this made it 0 for 21. If you go back to the Pittsburgh game.
Way to go, guys.
0 for 21. What's the O stand for? Oh my God, you shit the bed again with the man advantage.
I hate that we are even talking about this right now.
Look, you gotta take the good with the bad, and that's why we're talking about this, because unfortunately, you can't win them all. But at this point, I would like for our hockey team to win one.
Yeah.
They couldn't even do that. So the next game was against St. Louis, as we mentioned. That they at least got a standings point out of, and it was somewhat different. So we're going to skip that for now, and we're going to go to last night's game, which was the Hockey Fights Cancer game that each team hosts. This was the Caps version of it. So as I wrote in my column at the Maryland Sports Blog, I do the recaps there. I was hoping, I think we were all hoping that the Caps would find some inspiration in that. And they actually didn't play that bad, I would say, until about the 17th minute, where they took the 2 penalties.
Of the first period?
At the end of the first period. Yep. And then, I wrote this in my column. Basically, that handed the number 1 power play a 5-on-3 man advantage, a 2-man advantage for over a minute.
Right. Well,
Caps actually almost came away with getting out of the period, getting away with that. Well, they didn't. Cale Makar blasted a left circle shot, put it away. That would literally be.
It's disgusting.
That would literally be all Colorado would need for the whole game, because the Caps offense just up and died after that.
I don't know. I hated it. Yeah,
there are no 2 words about it. McKinnon made a sparkling individual play. Yowza.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Colorado got a couple more. Caps actually had the shot advantage in this game, as well as the face-off advantage. Fat lot of good it did them. Lot of frickin' good it did them.
Goaltending was terrible.
Kemper was off his game on a couple of goals, and I don't know. Some have said, well, this proves that goaltending never was our problem. I think that's still debatable. I think the goaltending this year has still overall been more reliable than last year. That was the problem last year. We did not have reliable goaltending.
Right.
I think the goaltending this year overall has been much more reliable. Now, will it stay that way for the rest of the season? The jury's still out on that.
Mhm.
But you compare the sample size we've got now to what was there last year. Yeah, and look, I get there's people out there saying, well, Samsonov did well until he was hurt. And then, Vanacek's 7-0-0. Okay, yeah, fine. But he's also playing for a first-place team.
Right.
So, these two guys had their chance to win, to take over the reins. And now they're with better teams. And, of course, they're doing better. So I'm sorry to shoot holes in your argument, folks, but that's the way it is. That this team right now, the way it's constructed and the way it executes. Well, the way it's constructed isn't all that bad, but the way it executes leaves a lot to be desired. Obviously, I'll explain more on that later. But 0 for 2 on the power play. I mean, pick your stat, and you might as well pick your nose at the same time. See if you can reach inside your brain and come up with a solution. Am I shocking anybody's sensibilities yet? I probably am not.
No,
But
I just
this team is chasing the phrase "chasing the game" is going to come up repeatedly, whether it's you listen to us or whoever. I don't care what Caps fans podcast you bring up. That phrase is going to come up because that is exactly what this team is doing. And you cannot win hockey games when you play like that.
Mhm.
You cannot. And I didn't think the Caps would come away with a win in this game, but I sure as hell thought they'd put up something of a better effort in this game. This game was striking in its own way because Alexander Georgiev is a good goalie. I would not call him a great goalie. I don't think Craig Laughlin said the Caps deserved at least a goal. They did, but at the same time, they didn't put out enough of the effort needed to put in a goal because the majority of the shots, if you watch the game, hit Georgiev in the chest or wound up in his glove, or there was no rebound, there was no second chance, there was no high danger chance, there was no nothing. It was just 30-odd times of putting a shot on net and hoping it would go in.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not the way to win games. And Alan May said it best. They need to maybe make things simple and go for the gritty goal. Well, they kind of sort of did that, or got back to something like that in the Thursday game against the Blues. Now, this game, yeah, it started a lot like, well, not a lot like, exactly like the other games. Caps fell behind early. Let's see, Schenn, Buchnevich, and Krug. So 11:49 in the first. Yeah, almost a carbon copy of the start against Tampa Bay. And yeah, we're all going, yeah, here we go again. Captain makes it 3-1 on a nice play by Strome. And this wasn't anything other than tenacity on the forecheck. And this is what I think Alan May is talking about. Just making sure you hang on to the puck and make smart decisions with it. And Ovechkin found himself all alone in the slot, the low slot, and just corralled it, made the right move, and put it in the net past Thomas Greiss for his 9th of the year. And then John Carlson scored a shorthander, which normally would be the backbreaker, except this only put them within 1 a couple minutes later. But you saw that, and it's a shorthanded goal. That automatically is a momentum switcher, always. And then Ryan O'Reilly scored, and about 30 seconds later, and put him up by 2 again. That was probably the backbreaker. But Caps didn't quit. They showed a lot of fire in the third period. They dominated. And in fact, they would, key stat here, they would end up putting out 22 shots on net that period alone. 18 in the previous period, total for 51. Where the hell was this Caps team?
Right.
Yeah, I hear you, Anna. It made me sick too. So what you had to wonder, where has this Caps team been? But we're liking what we were seeing because, like I said, Carlson brings them within 1 on the power play. Strome and Ovechkin on the assists on that one. The power play is finally showing some life. Sherry, his 7th, about a minute later, ties the game. And then Nick Dowd gets his goal. But you knew one way or the other that one was going to get called back, because if it wasn't goaltender interference, it was going to be eye sticking, which it was. But that brought them at least into overtime, so they earned the loser point. We all know what happened after that. It went to the shootout, and one of the reasons why I don't like the shootout is because Caps almost never win the shootout. It's a crappy way to end a game. It really is. I'm sorry. Yeah, you want a winner, but you want to send home a winner. But I mean, I'm okay with a tie. I'm okay with 5 more minutes of overtime.
No.
But I'm sorry. Shootout. I don't feel like I got my money's worth. I'm sorry. I might be alone in that, but I don't care. Until somebody with any authority changes that, I'm going to keep on complaining about it. But anyway, that was the last game. Well, not the last game. There was a third game, but it was the only game that the Caps would score a standings point. And yeah, look, Anna's already said it. We could say this we've been saying it till we're both blue in the face. I think I am blue in the face right now. So hence the pregnant pause for breath. But Caps cannot keep chasing the game. They need to figure out who they are. They need to figure out how to keep things simple. And if you're not putting the puck in the net, you damn sure better find a way to keep the other team from doing it to you. Mm-hmm. And that's the guts of it. And that I don't know if it's the coaching or the management, or if there has to be a players only meeting. But if this team wants to take a trip to the playoffs in late April, they need to figure this shit out and figure it out right now.
Yep.
We're not quite at the quarter pole, but they are in danger of letting this season slip away. And right now I am seeing a lot of passengers on this team. I'm seeing guys that aren't putting out maximum effort. And you can blame injuries all you want, but I think to a man, and that's coaching staff and management included, everybody's going to have to bear down and figure out what they want for this year. Are they going to throw in the towel, or are they going to start knuckling down and actually playing like they want to win games? And I think the next 2 weeks are going to be pretty crucial as far as what we can expect for the rest of the year. So let's cover that real quick. Next 2 weeks. Okay, so the Caps are actually in the middle of a break. They don't play again until next Wednesday. They're home again, 7:30 puck drop at Capital One against Philadelphia. Philadelphia not doing too well either, but I tell you what, that's going to be a great barometer of a game. You know why? Because this year they're coached by John Tortorella. And he always makes sure that his teams are ready to play.
Right.
So if the Caps are not ready to play, I guarantee you it's going to be a long night. So that's going to be interesting. And then there's the Black Friday game. That's 2:00 puck drop at Cap One. Attention, red, white, and blue light special, Kmart shoppers and all that. That's going to be very, very interesting as far as both teams' preparedness. They play the Calgary Flames that one. And Calgary's, I don't like them either. And Calgary is supposed to, on paper at least, be one of the best teams. Right now, they're not even in a wild card spot, but they're at least above 500, which we can't say. So that's going to be a very interesting game to watch for sure. And then they finish the week starting another road trip against New Jersey, 7:00 there. If the Caps don't turn things around, at least by that New Jersey game, I think there might be you're staring at a missed playoffs in the face at that point.
100%.
If this slide continues, I think you are staring, unless they get on one hell of a hot streak after that, you're staring at no playoffs this year, a very real possibility of that at least. And that's not hyperbole. I'm not kidding around about that either. It's a very, very real possibility. And so again, I think the key is they need to realize what they've got. They need to realize that, unfortunately, Tom Wilson may not be back for probably another month. Nobody knows when Backstrom's going to be back. Nobody seems to know when Orlov is going to be back. And if he keeps running into his own teammates in practice, he may not be back for a while. Nobody knows when Oshie's going to be back. We got what we got. I said it on the Facebook page. This team, as it's constructed now, we got what we got. So we're going to have to work with the pieces we got. And somehow they're all going to have to figure out who they are, what they've got, and how they can work best as a team to win games. This is what I keep saying, what I mean when I keep saying this team has no identity. They don't know who they are. They used to be a team that made it hard on others to win games. They're not that anymore because they don't have those pieces right now. So they can't play the game they're used to. It's called adapting. And I'm not seeing it. Not from the leadership on ice or off the ice, not from management. I'm not seeing it. The best teams adapt. The best people adapt when you have adversity threatening to take a crap on you. And yeah, I'm sorry for the graphical comparison there. And if you don't like it, you're welcome to switch this podcast off. But it's our right as Caps fans to be angry. But I don't think it's prudent to give up on this team. I think right now there is enough in the tank. There's enough on paper. There's enough on the ice. But to a man, they have to figure out what they want and how they're going to get there. Because if they can't do that, they don't have a plan. You don't go into something without a plan and what you want. How are you going to get there? And it's really as simple as that. And I'm just not seeing it. And it couldn't be more obvious. I'm just a fan that has happened to watch Caps games, hockey games, for over 40 years of my life, and I can figure that out. I'm sure the brain trust of this team has figured that out. But why they're not doing anything about it, I don't know. But if something doesn't change soon, then, I don't know. We're looking at something very drastic in the near or short-term future. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There is nothing else to say.
Yeah. Sorry that went on a little long, folks, but it
needed to be said.
It has to be said. And whether it's a players only meeting or a bag skate or something, there has to be that come to Jesus moment for this team. And if it doesn't happen sooner or later, then again, they're looking at a very, very long spring and summer. And if that's what they want, then that's what they're going to get. But
100%.
We as fans can't allow that.
Exactly. And we know that that's not what they want, but they need to figure their shit out.
Yes, they do. Most definitely. All right. So enough about the team. As last night, as we said, was Hockey Fights Cancer Night for the Caps. And as I like to do, and as is the aim of the podcast, we make the Caps fan the star. What I asked of our loyal listeners was to have them share their cancer story. I mean, this disease is so widespread that everyone either has been through it themselves or know somebody very, very close to them, or know somebody that knows someone that is very, very close to them that has gone through this awful piece of shit disease. And I apologize for the cursing, but even more than I hate seeing my Caps lose, I hate this disease because it took away both my grandmothers. And it's taken away a lot of people. There is one thing it can't take away, though, and I'll get to that. Well, I'll speak to that here, but I just want to share several examples that our listeners were kind enough to share with us, starting with Stephen and Chris Levesque, sons of Clarence Pat Levesque, who served in the United States Navy. And you know what one of his jobs was? He was in charge of making sure the alarm system, especially the disaster alarm system, the fire alarm system at a naval base, was functioning properly. Sometimes he would be the only guy manning the system late at night, and sometimes he'd have to go out in the dead of night when there was a malfunction. You talk about a guy dedicated to his job.
Seriously.
This is a guy, okay, so this is a guy who's protecting the guys that are protecting us. You can't get more dedicated than that.
Yeah,
and cancer took this man away. He actually passed away very, very recently. So wanted to give a shout about that. Tony Olcott, he's shared his pictures of his parents and especially his awesome mother. Obviously raised a hell of a young man, and his mother was taken by cancer. Leanne Headland, her mother, thank goodness, is a cancer survivor, and there are those that have survived this disease. Anne Marie Lloyd, a very, very loyal listener, very, very passionate fan. Her sister survived cancer not once, not twice, but 3 times. So living proof that you can't keep a good person down. Lynn Christian Riegert, her niece Mary. I'm going to try and get through this fairly quickly, but I think this is worth mentioning here. She's gotten very close to her niece. When she was 21, she had a cyst on her neck, and then several tests later, they found it was Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 4. She was too weak for chemo. She had to have surgery to have rods put in her spine and start of a year of chemo after that. And Lynn was actually one of her support mechanisms along with her nuclear family, but she's been 5 years cancer-free, but she was in such an awful and weakened state that they're not taking this for granted. And obviously, her niece is living life to the fullest, but this is what cancer does. It eats at you physically, but it also eats at you mentally. So another example of how, yes, it can be overcome, but it's how terrible it can be. Tom Gobble, a great friend of mine, great fan of the show. Not only his father, but his father-in-law, both to cancer. Pancreatic cancer, to be exact. His dad worked as a civilian on the old defunct Bainbridge Naval Training Center, Port Deposit, Maryland. And they closed down the facility, and he got moved to the Aberdeen Proving Ground. And that's where he became a local fan of the Orioles and the Flyers, unfortunately, because the Caps actually didn't exist. This was the early 70s. But eventually, his dad developed pancreatic cancer. And this was, because they lived in northeastern Maryland, they became Caps fans eventually, but unfortunately the man died before he lived to see the Caps lift the cup. And I'm so with him on that, because my dad never saw that too, and my dad was the one that got me into Caps hockey. So I'm so with him there. And his father-in-law, his story is that he was with the 101st Airborne for 5 years, and he ended up with lung cancer and beat it, survived it, but it literally took a lot out of him. And yeah, it's again not fun, not a fun thing to go through. Beth Tector Schuberg, one of our newest listeners, newest fans, her sister Kathy, fighting cancer, says she is the one that inspires her to throw the support to Caps Fight Cancer. Curtina Sharp, her 2 young nephews, her mom and dad and grandmother, all suffering from cancer. So that's your whole family right there. So of course you're going to put out their names and bringing it back around town, bringing it back home. Of course, last year we all know the story with Anna and her mom. This wonderful woman who had a great sense of adventure, would not let anything knock down her smile, was silenced forever last year by cancer. So if all of those people aren't worth fighting for, then what is? But all of those people left behind a legacy. They left behind great people. All those who did not survive left behind great people who live on in their name and carry the fight to this day. So with that, I say it's not, well, cancer can take away a human life, can eat away at your body, can take away your mental state, but it cannot erase or damage or dent the human soul, and it never will. And as long as those of us left carry on the fight in their name. And again, there's not, cancer doesn't care who you are, doesn't care how much money you have, doesn't care where you come from, what color you are, how smart you are. It's going to touch you somehow, and it's not fun. But again, it'll never touch the human soul. Not if you don't let it. And the way you don't let it is you carry on the fight in their name. And so you can do that by getting the word out. I mentioned it before, the economy is not so great. Maybe you don't have a whole lot of spare change to give to your local foundations. And there's many out there that are worthy, like the Laughlin Family Foundation, Hockey Fights Cancer, Caps Fight Cancer, all the local chapters. If you do have the means, please do give. But if you don't, then get the word out. Get yourself one of those downloadable I Fight For cards, those beautiful lavender cards. Write down the name of somebody you know is either going through, pardon me, or has lost their battle with cancer, and get the word out. And tell the world that you are fighting this horrible disease for that person in their name. So I didn't want to bring everybody down, but actually I think if you look at it a certain way, it's uplifting, because those who didn't survive, actually, if you think about it, they never die. They live on. And Anna, if I may say so, if I never met your mother, but if I did get the chance to, I think I'd see a lot of you in her.
Most likely, yes. And it is true. You have to honor their spirit and talk to them daily and smile at things and memories. It doesn't have to be, sad all the time. But it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, but you always have to think that they would not want you to be in a puddle of tears every single day. They more, just as proud of you, just getting out of bed and doing your thing and who you've become and everything that you're doing. Absolutely.
And sometimes that's all it takes. Just getting out of bed and drawing another breath.
Yeah.
Is enough to give the middle finger to cancer, as I like to put it. Well, anyway, I just wanted to do my part to get the word out and put the spotlight on those that have fought the good fight, continue to fight the fight, and such. It being that time of year, and hopefully you can carry that spirit all through the year, because it's not like the disease magically goes away just because we don't want to think about it. It's there 24/7, 365.
Right. Unfortunately, but yeah, 100%. So I posted yesterday that you can do the lavender cart for somebody who has passed, which I did for my mom and the gallbladder cancer. And then this year I am 100% on board with John Carter, who's going through a brain cancer, coworker, an absolutely beautiful family and amazing, and if you remember a couple of years ago, my student passed from brain cancer. So it seems to be something that is close to my heart, but yeah. I'm sorry about my dogs.
It's fine.
I mean, talk about like having one of those moments where you're like, I don't want to end on a downer note. And I'm like, that's okay, because mine are outside barking over a bone that they each have, but they want the other ones. And they've been annoying.
Well, that's fine, because my cat is yelping at me because he wants his dinner a little early. So I guess this is a pretty good time to wind it up. So basically, what's the message in all this? Yeah, you can, life can kick you in the old gonads at times, but the trick is
you keep going.
The trick is to get up and keep going, to not let it keep you down. And whether it's this season or next season or somewhere down the road, eventually this team will come back to its own senses and find a way to be that team we know that it can be. And wherever you are in life, anything bad that's happening, just know that it's only temporary, as is this downturn in the game. It's all temporary. Brick is to enjoy the ride. And that's all there is to it. All right, so now that I've stopped my advertising for the self-help tape here. So previewed the next week's worth of games. That actually pretty much ends the month. Like I said, they go on a Western road trip after that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Caps figure this out over the next few weeks. And I think this is going to be crucial, because this is going to determine how not only their season goes, but their next off season. So look for that. Pay as much attention as you can, and above all, root for this team as hard as you can, and just be the best fan you can be. That's all we can ask. So for that, we're going to wind it up here. And so for the Mermaid, Anna Knox, I am the Blue Liner on Point, signing off and reminding you that we spoke about your mom, Anna, and I really, really admired the way that you kind of held yourself together through all that.
Thank you.
So I just want to say that because of all that, of yours, I used to be a fan, but after all that, now I'm a whole air conditioner.
Oh, even better.
No laughs, but a like. I'll take it. Hallelujah, and let's go Caps.
Go Caps.
This has been another episode of the Power Play Point Podcast. All episodes are available from Apple Podcasts, the Podbean app, BlueLiner77.podbean.com, and now available from Stitcher. Music by Joe McAllister, voiceover by Jeffrey Conkle.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Power Play Point Podcast. Thanks for listening.